hold it.
Is this rated for two of us?
I don't know. We'll find out. All right. It's close enough to 11 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. I know so many of you, but I'm Ed Clark. I am president of the Wildlife Center of Virginia. And with me is my friend and colleague from the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries, Steve Living. And we're glad to have you. And we take care of the individual eagles. Steve takes care of the eagle population in this part of Virginia. So we each have our respective jobs, but they're very complementary, and we pull on the same end of the rope, which is the best part about it. That working hand in hand, we're able to do a lot for eagles and a lot for wildlife in general. Before I get started with anything about this particular bird, I wanted to turn things over to Steve and let him tell you some things about eagles in general in this part of Virginia and the kind of work that he does. So, Steve, take it away.
Great. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'd also like to start out by thanking James City County, who have been extremely welcoming and facilitating this release, helping us find an appropriate spot and helping to prep it for a crowd of people to show up. So our thanks to the county for that.
Yay, James City!
Also, thanks to the National Park Service, this bird is coming from a nest that was initially on the Park Service property, and they facilitated some work that we did there. And we're not far from that bird's home, just a hop, skip, and jump over to Jamestown Island. We've seen an amazing recovery of bald eagles. It's really gratifying. It's a conservation success story, one of the truly great ones. They've been removed from both the federal endangered species list and from the state. I'm lucky enough to have a very small part in managing the eagle population in eastern Virginia. We have undertaken, in conjunction with West Virginia University and Dr. Todd Katzner there, a large-scale telemetry study of eagles. And this eagle was supposed to be part of that study. And as we've heard, that's not going to happen. But we have to date, as part of that study, placed telemetry units on 9 nestling eagles from coastal Virginia. And the plan is eventually to have 60 eagles telemetered. And that's going to allow us to build an unprecedented model of how eagles are using habitat. And we're at a different stage of eagle management, where now we have to figure out how we manage eagles best in urban environments where we weren't used to them nesting, how we address wind energy. So we're going to develop some really fine-scale models of how these birds are living day to day. So while this bird is not telemetered, a bird that we did band on Colonial Parkway up by Yorktown, I checked in on yesterday, and that bird summered in the Hamptons. He has good taste. He's dispersed as far as the eastern end of Long Island. A second bird has also made it up to Long Island, another to the Alleghenies, 2 on the Potomac, and a couple that have really not dispersed very far yet. They're kind of staying close to their natal area. So we're building a picture of how diverse these individual birds are in their behaviors. It's all part and parcel of the continued learning that we do to manage effectively.
Good. Does anybody have any questions for Steve about, what thing I'm dealing with? Of course you do.
Is there any way to know the gender other than whether they fly into a wall?
Where'd you get an idea like that?
We wait until we watch them lay eggs. There are some measurements can provide some pretty consistent, especially measurements of the foot. Well, primaries are more age. Age out of that. And typically females are just a lot bigger.
Yeah, and this is a great big bird. If this bird is not female, I'll eat my hat. And she's got the attitude to go along with it. And that's not a sexist remark. That's actually an observational point. The females are often more aggressive than the males. They are the defenders of the nest. And the males are about 1/3 smaller in size in general when they're adults, and the females are really a handful. All of my serious eagle injuries over the years, many of which have been injured on the release day and seen by members of this crowd and documented, thank you for sharing on Facebook, almost all have been females. They're just much stronger, much larger, and let's just say much more assertive. So any other questions before we start about this bird? Yes?
Does she have any more challenges because she's been in captivity, so she's been a baby who she is now? I mean, she didn't grow up in the wild, so what kind of challenges will she face that others won't?
Right. That is a very real challenge for these birds, because there is a period of parental learning that they undergo, which is why we always, when we can, try to leave them in that natural circumstance. And in this case, this nest, we climbed this nest and banded these chicks, and our plan was to put a telemetry unit on this bird then. She was just a little too small. They have to be close to adult size so that it fits properly. So we decided not to at that point. And about 2 weeks later, we had the severe storm here on the peninsula, 70-mile-an-hour winds, and the nest was actually blown down. And the National Park Service staff got in touch with me and said, what can we do? And I was here the next morning and found both birds. And I tried to return this bird up to that tree adjacent to the old nest tree, but she was just too old. As soon as I put her on a branch, she hopped back down. So then really the only solution for survival was the Wildlife Center. So it's not ideal, but it is by far the best chance that this bird would have had. And here, there are so many eagles to model behavior after. This is a great learning laboratory for eagles. We're in a great concentration area. So hopefully, it will find other eagles. There's plenty of catfish in this river. I saw a good-sized catfish floating when we were here earlier. So that's hopefully how this bird will make its living for a while.
So when you watch her with the trackers to make sure...
Well, we would have, but we're actually going to remove this telemetry unit because unfortunately we found out that the battery on this is a dud. A technician checking in on this unit this morning called to let Ed know, go ahead and remove it. It's not transmitting.
Yeah, so the battery will be replaced and the unit will be put on another bird as soon as we have the opportunity. But in terms of how we try to compensate for that bird's loss of the natural experience in her development is they are housed around other eagles. They're housed in large enclosures, flight cages that enable them to build their strength. They have to eat live food whenever we can provide it. They have to catch them out of a tub when we can provide those. And just one of the things about birds like this is they are terribly driven by instinct. So it's not just learned behavior. And what we know as a result of having put a tracking device on another young eagle that we rehabilitated and released 2 years ago is that once they've undergone this type of as close to natural captive rearing as possible, they do very well. That other bird has stayed here in Virginia. We've tracked her, and she's just done all the normal eagle stuff for the last year and a half. So, yeah. Any other questions? Yes, please, in the back. I've got a knife, which will do for removing the tracking collar or if she decides to bite me.
I was told last week there were more eagles on the Potomac River than the James. Is that true?
I haven't kept up with the most recent Potomac surveys. They're both significant concentration areas. I'd have to go and look at the individual data for those. But Virginia in general, let's look even larger, the Chesapeake Bay population is probably one of the most significant on the East Coast. We get Florida eagles in the summer, we get Maine eagles in the winter, and everything in between.
Yeah. So, here then.
Okay, I got a question on what's your ban letter for your eagle? So when it is released and photographers get a hold of it, so we know who it is since we don't have the tracking thing.
This actually doesn't have that purple band. Those are only Center for Conservation Biology, and they've asked that they be the only ones to place those on birds. So this bird is banded with a silver USGS banding lab, and I don't have that 9-letter.
Yeah, but the only way you'd be able to see it is having your hands on the bird.
Yeah, pretty much in hand.
So, yes.
Will the parents return and rebuild a new nest?
I would expect that they'll investigate Jamestown Island. There's 3 other nests that are still in usable condition from other pairs. And typically, even if we don't know where they are, eagles maintain alternate nest sites because they're adapted to this. This happens all the time to eagles, especially in coastal areas. Their trees are damaged or the nests are blown out. So the parents will definitely soldier on, and I would expect, whether or not it's exactly on Jamestown Island, they'll re-nest.
Yeah, and that piece of information is really relevant to a lot of the controversies about what happens when an eagle's nest is destroyed or a tree blows down or development moves an eagle or whatever. Research done by Dr. Mitchell Bird at William & Mary years ago showed that throughout its lifetime a nesting pair could have as many as 3 routinely used nesting sites. And for no particular reason other than a change of scenery perhaps, they'll go from one site to the next year to year. And it's been as a result of the banding programs, it's been as a result of the telemetry programs and the other on-the-ground research that we have been able to detect that. Hopefully they're not shooting at eagles.
Mr. Clark, I don't know this gentleman's name again.
Steve Living.
Steve, are you aware of the pair that are almost daily down here on the old dead tree by the cypress? At the end?
There's a snag there, kind of right on the edge of where the 4-H property starts.
Right.
There's routinely eagles there. It may be birds from Jamestown. Oftentimes, it may not even be the same birds, because a dead snag like that is just an attractive perch for an eagle.
Well, they're there quite often.
Oh yeah, and it's a really good perch is prime territory, and eagles will actually squabble over them.
Well, it's because it's the highest point
Exactly. It's high and it's easy to access. They can see those catfish. So yeah, some folks were looking at those eagles earlier this morning. Yeah, that's a great place to look for eagles. Dead snags along the shore.
Okay, well, before we get bogged down in many more questions, we'll be around. I don't want the bird to get overheated here until her belly button pops up and lets us know she's well roasted. Okay, I've just been reminded to make a request. If, as you are taking photographs, you find that some of them are really good pictures with which you are that you would be willing to share with us, please send them to us at the Wildlife Center. We are creating the new what is called the Garden of Eagles calendar, and that has been produced for the last 4 years now. Well, we had.
We're on our 5th year.
On our 5th year. Okay. Well, there you go. Where was I? So, we would be looking for some really good shots from today's release to include in that calendar, and of course, we do credit the photographer, and just to put on our website and share, and I'm sure the game department would like to have access to those as well. So if you're willing to share with us, please drop us an email and we'll tell you how to send the photographs up to us. All right, anything else from the assembled masses? What we are going to do is, what's that? Oh, yeah.
When you released at Charles City, one of them had trouble. Whatever happened to that eagle?
That eagle took off. Fine.
She's doing fine.
She's
now.
doing fine. Yeah. No, that bird's doing beautifully now. So, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to get pretty focused here once we get the bird out. So please forgive us if we ignore questions or whatever. We will tell you what we're doing as best we can while we're doing it, and we'll try to contain any expletives since I am wearing a microphone in case any one of us gets hurt. But this is a big bird. We're going to have to pull the bumpers off of her wings. You may see a little bit of red blood on the tip of her wing. I don't know that that's going to be the case, but don't worry about it. It's very superficial. It's like a little kid skinning his knees. It looks bad, but it's not really a big problem for the bird. And then we're going to have to figure out how to get this harness off, cutting through the Teflon tape.
Would you remind all of us that are here to make a large circle?
Oh, you bet. No, yeah, we'll do that when we get ready.
I know.
When we do get ready to do the release, we're going to move over. I'm going to, probably with foolhardy intentions, ask you all to make sort of a horseshoe behind us. The wind blowing in this direction, the bird's probably going to not fly in the direction pointed, but probably turn around, fly right over our heads, and maybe sit in that tree up there. That's an ideal fantasy. I just had to say it. But the truth is, when we do get in position, we'll ask people to be considerate. Short people get in front. Tall people don't jump up in front of the people behind you. We will get the bird out. I will walk around with the bird because she's been in here in the dark, and just be sure she's acclimated and her breathing settles down from the stuff we're about to do to her. And you'll get a chance to get a picture, but we really are going to have to take our cues from the bird because we're going to be doing things that are not normally needed for a bird about to be released. So we may need to get you to move in a hurry. So, all right. All in, all done, and we're going to have at it here.
Yeah. Your elbow is.
Okay, and we will ask you to keep your voices down while we're working on the bird.
Oh, don't do that, man. I know. Couldn't the photographers kneel that are standing in the front? The TV camera.
Doors.
Y'all better back up. He's going to smack you with his wings.
Get the birds there, get the door, I'll get that.
Come on, dude.
May not be as big a bird as we thought. Big female. Call it a female. All right. If you'll pull that glove off. There we go. That's why you wear glasses. Sir?
Drinking, y'all.
Okay, well, we're going to let the media get their pictures, but for those who are not media, please get down in front.
No, he's not.
Protect the wings.
Yeah. Get the whole, give it just a second. Save a hearing aid here.
No.
Yeah, baby.
She would be very glad to fight. Yeah, but her mouth is good.
It's going to protect you.
I've been in this cage too long. You might take it again.
YouTube video of us eagle picking up There was a fake YouTube video of an eagle picking up a kid in the car.
Well, it needs to be a balance between removable and
Yeah, she, unfortunately, we're having some trouble getting the bumpers off easily, and part of the reason is that she, the normal bumpers we use, she released herself from those about 2 seconds after we put them on. So, she has not been the easiest bird to manage in captivity, to put it very gently. And we have had to resort to using far more adhesive tape material. Actually, this stuff is sort of an artificial skin. So it's at least porous, and if any of the sticky stuff stays on her, it's not going to hurt her. A lot of these superficial feathers will come off anyway. Okay. She's got lots of feathers. We're just going to take off a couple.
She'll roll back.
Yeah, I think we'll not be using this on any future birds. Or at least if we do, we'll pull it off before we get down here in the hot sun.
If we use it in future, we'll come take it off before we get to the hot sun.
Yeah, actually, she's being remarkably calm.
Judged her to be about 8 weeks old at the end of May.
8 weeks old.
She hatched this year.
Maybe a battery that gets charged from the solar.
Okay. Okay, now push my glasses back up where I can see here. All right, let's cut those. And we will give you a chance to take a look at this transmitter once we get it off.
What would happen if y'all made a transmitter that was solar powered?
It is solar powered. The trouble is that the battery has got to be fully charged before the bird is released, and then what the solar panel does is simply boost the battery charge. But unfortunately, the Wildlife Center's eagle cages, well, not unfortunately, on purpose, they're in the shade.
Turn it this way.
Was put onto the bird probably close to a month ago, and the battery has discharged, and it has discharged inordinately. And so they got some batteries, unfortunately, they said had a problem, and this turns out to have been one of them. So it's unfortunate, but, you know, in the overall scheme of life, there are a lot more eagles. We'll get it on another one.
Yeah, how much do you think she weighs?
Not as much as I thought she did.
3 kilograms.
3 kilograms.
Yeah.
So about a kilogram is about 2.2 pounds.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what we'll do.
She was about 8 weeks old at the end of May.
Let's all move down here and kind of get in position, and then I'll walk her around a little bit.
Sorry.
No, all right.
Wreck your show. I just wanted to see.
I've got my tablet in the car. Scroll with it. Yeah. That's all the excitement.
Thank you. Everybody please keep the sound down a little bit. Okay, I need this crowd to back up with the crew. Keep on backing up. If you're not moving, back up. Okay.
So we're pretty much
all right.
Okay.
Bird's getting pretty warm, so I need everybody who's not official media to get out of the line of fire here. And the only reason is they've got workman's comp if the bird lands on them. They'll need it if the bird lands on them. All right, are we ready?
I think so.
On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Heading home is right.